Why does everything keep happening to me? That's what Martin Salama kept asking himself after he lost his entire business and his marriage within months. But through self-discovery and coaching, he found a new way forward and created a unique mindset approach to help others find peace and fulfillment as well. So how do you stay positive when it feels like everything around you is falling apart? Martin's journey of resilience could be the inspiration that you need. In this episode, Martin shares how he turned personal setbacks into a coaching framework designed to help people overcome negative self-talk, stop people-pleasing, and build a life they truly love. We take a look at how he helps entrepreneurs move from worrier to warrior, all while learning the importance of being true to yourself. So if you're navigating your own challenges or you're feeling stuck, Martin's journey will resonate with you and offer actionable ways to regain control and positivity in your life. Welcome to the Online Business Launchpad podcast. I'm Trudy Rankin, and I bring you stories, tips, and advice from online entrepreneurs who have overcome problems and challenges to get to success, because if they've done it, so can you. My mission is simple. I want to help you solve the challenges you face as an online business owner so that you can have more time and money for yourself and your family and more choices in how you live your life. Martin, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And it's one of my favorite topics to talk about is how to stay positive no matter what's pissing you off.
So before we get into the topic at hand, can you just tell us a little bit more about you, your background, and what you do now?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, my name is Martin Salama. I live in Brooklyn, New York, on the other side of the world from you. You could call me down under. It depends on your perspective on who's up above and who's down under. But yeah, so I'm in Brooklyn, New York, and I've lived here almost my entire life. For about 20 years, I lived in New Jersey, which is the next state over. So not very far. I've always stayed in the tri-state New York area. And for most of my life, I was a businessman. And today the term is I was an entrepreneur. Back then, we didn't use terms like entrepreneurs, But yeah, and in the early 2000s, my wife and I were working on a project to build a multi-million-dollar health club and tennis center in New Jersey by the Jersey Shore. And it was taking us about 5 years to get to the point of being able to start construction. And that was because we kept on to running into different things. Oh, we've got to find the land, then we've got to find an engineer, and we've got to get a feasibility study to make sure it's worth doing. All these things kept on holding us back. And we'd go to the bank and they're like, yeah, we love this project. We can't wait for you to get all the approvals. We're like, oh yeah, we need to get approvals from the city. We went into the city, and that took up a lot of time because they keep coming back to us with different things of, oh, by the way, now that you've gotten this done and that done, we need you to go out and hire a civil engineer. I'm like, okay, what does a civil engineer do? Oh, they help you with traffic patterns and parking. And oh, okay. So even though we had parking figured in there, they wanted to make sure that it was enough parking and how it would affect the traffic and all that. So time was going on, and we'd go back to the bank and we're saying, hey, this is still going on. Like, we like it, keep going, but we're not going to fund it until you're ready. So I had to go out and find other ways of funding the project. Loans, investors, all those things, refinancing the house a couple of times. And in the early 2000s, that was an easy thing to do here in the States. They were refinancing at any minute. So finally, in the summer of 2008, we got all the approvals. And I go to the bank and I'm like, okay, we're ready now. I'm $3.5 million in. Let's go. And yeah, we're not lending now. What? What are you talking about? You've been telling me you can't wait for this project. Yeah, well, we were, but then things are slowing down now. A month later, the financial world fell apart. Bernie Madoff, subprime loans. I don't know how much Australia knows about these things. I assume you guys got just as badly hit as we did.
Yeah, it was pretty bad news.
Yeah. So yeah, and overnight I was wiped out when that happened. I lost absolutely everything. And I stopped paying my mortgage, stopped paying my car payments. That's how bad it was. And a few months later, my son says, look outside. And they were towing away my BMW. It was repossessed. I was like, oh my God, that never happened to me before. Eventually, the house was foreclosed on. And because I lived in New Jersey, at that time, foreclosures were rampant, right? And I lived in New Jersey and they were so backlogged that they foreclosed on the house. But before they did anything else, they let us live in it for years until they finally said, "Oh, yeah, we remember about you guys now." So, and it was eventually foreclosed on maybe 7 or 8 years later. Crazy.
Wow.
But I went into a deep depression for about a year. And when I started to come out of the depression, I was like, okay, what am I going to do with my life now? I'd gone through therapy and coaching and all these things to help me get to this point of deciding this. And I thought about what I liked to do. I was like, I was always a businessman. I never really loved being a businessman. So here's my opportunity to like reinvent myself. So I thought about it and I realized I'd always been involved in community events. I was the leader of a bunch of community organizations for many years. And as the leader, people would come in and say, "But Martin, I can't do what you're doing. But I don't want you to do what I'm doing. I want you to do what you're good at." And I would talk them through it and say, "Okay, this is what you're good at. So then let's find a role for you doing something like that." And I started to realize that I was coaching them. So I was like, oh, maybe I should become a coach. So I started looking into it and I found a great coaching school. And I decided, I went to the school. I said, "Look, I have next to no money. And I know you can tell me I could go get finance, but I'll never get approved." So I said, "Let's come up with a number and I'll pay you that money every month. I'll figure it out and I'll pay it to you." Did it. The guy was great. And he said, "Here's one thing though. I won't give you your certification until you pay off your loan, until you pay off the money." I'm like, "That's fair. It's a negotiation. All good." Went in, did it. By the way, I paid it off by the time I was finished anyway. But it was good motivation for me. About 2 months before I was going to start the school training was my 24th wedding anniversary. And my wife gave me a very interesting gift that day. She said, "I want a divorce."
Wow.
And I'm like, there are 364 other days you could have asked me for this. Yeah, not too romantic. I didn't say it that day. I should have, but you could imagine the spiraling emotions I went through, Trudy. It was really something. I was like, just when I thought I was getting back on my feet, ready to go, why does everything keep happening to me? And you know what? Those words resonate with me now because as I started going through coach training and understanding what those words meant, I realized the power of the words is what was driving me. And by my saying, why does everything keep happening to me? I was looking to blame everybody else without taking any responsibility. And now I say things happen through me. A lot of people say things happen for me. I think that's a little selfish, to be honest. I don't think God's up there saying, "Hey, what can I do for Trudy today?" Not that he doesn't care about you. He loves you. But he's not only thinking about us at any moment. He wants us to do the work, and then he'll support us if he thinks it's the right thing for you.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot for somebody to have to go through. Because at the time you're talking about when all of the subprime mortgages of that, the whole collapse of that sort of resonated around the world. And even if it didn't impact on the financial economy of a particular country, people are still watching and going, "Oh my, that never happens to us." So it was a really intense time. And ouch, personal things happening just really can knock you around. So what did you do to be able to help you move through on past
Right.
what was happening there? Because you obviously have. So what did you do?
So at that moment when she told me this, and I like picked myself off the floor emotionally and said, "Okay, now what?" I said, "Well, I've already made this decision to go forward with this coaching training. I think I'm going to continue to do it." And I think, honestly, here's God again. I think it was God tapping me on the shoulder and saying, "Oh, so that's what you want to do? Well, let's make sure that you realize what you've got to go through so that you change. So let's hit rock bottom." And right before I was going to the school, they sent me an email with a bunch of books to read. They said, "Read a couple of these books. It'll help you out." And one of them was The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. You know that book, Trudy?
No, I haven't heard of it.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's one of the books. It's one of the books I keep right on my shelf behind me, The Four Agreements. Okay. And he says the life comes down to these basically four agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. Aren't they fantastic?
Yeah, those are good. Those are good words to live by.
And I was like, wow. And when I read that second one, don't take anything personally, I felt like he had just given me a secret that everybody in the world had been telling me my whole entire life, specifically my parents and my father to that point. But I was never ready to hear it until that moment. And it was as if somebody had turned on the lights in a stadium. That's how glaring it came down. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have to feel like everything that goes on is about me. I don't have to feel like the world is on my shoulders. And I started to unpack things that, like, I realize now, I look back, I was a people pleaser. Most people don't recognize that. They won't even admit that they're a people pleaser. They go, I just like to make everybody happy. Right? Now I call myself a recovering people pleaser. But with that came a couple of other things. As a people pleaser, you want to make sure you're making everybody happy, and you want the recognition that comes with making them happy. And you're a control freak, for me at least. And you've got to make sure that everything going exactly as you want it to go, and you get it and you find it. And when things aren't going that way and you're taking it personally, I had a very short temper. I'm like, what the hell? I'm doing everything and nobody's recognizing, or I'm not getting the preference or whatever. And I started to realize that was the crux of it, is that I needed to change how I reacted to things and started to respond. So the first thing I said to myself, and I knew this was going to take me time, was I'm not going to do anything for anybody else. I'm going to take care of myself first, as long as I'm not hurting somebody in the process. And even for people pleasers, they're like, well, I feel like I'm going to hurt their feelings. No, that's not the hurting I'm talking about. And I had to learn that no is a full sentence.
That is a hard lesson to learn. And I have to say that for me, that has been a really hard lesson to learn. And so talk us through your process from going from there through into getting into your coaching.
Yeah. So here I am. I'm going through the coaching and it's changing my life. I would like to say it changed it overnight. It didn't. And looking back, it's a good thing that it didn't, because it needs to be sustainable. It needs to be where you're not going to go back to your old ways. And that was the first thing I had to recognize, is that the things I was doing, my default tendencies, could be changed. I didn't have to overreact to everything. I didn't have to have every conversation turn into a confrontation. And that was because I was always having my guard up. So as I started to realize that and change it, I saw the changes in myself. And it wasn't for me to save my marriage or make sure that I could be near my kids all the time or anything like that. And that was a big part of it also. I had to realize I had to do it for myself if it was going to mean anything and if it was going to be sustainable. So as soon as I finished coach training, I was like, okay, what kind of coach do I want to be? And it was funny because a friend reached out to me on Facebook saying, now that you're divorced, I come from a very close-knit Jewish community here in New York City. Okay. And most people, even when they get married, don't leave our town. They just don't. And even though I lived in New Jersey, I was in a satellite of that Sephardic Jewish community where everybody would go down for the summer to that same town, to that same community, just a different town, but all in the same summering together. And she sends me a message saying, now that you're divorced, are you ready to start dating? And I'm like, and I know this woman for 40 years. I'm like, Kelly, but you're married. She goes, not me, you idiot. I'm your matchmaker. What are you talking about? What is this, Fiddler on the Roof? So we started talking and we got on a call, and about an hour later, she says, I got to tell you, Martin, I never met a man so well put together after a divorce. I was like, oh, wow, I guess it's the coaching. She goes, well, then maybe you should coach people around divorce. So I became a divorce recovery coach because I understood the emotional roller coaster that people go through. Whether you ask for it or you're asked for it, you're going to go through an emotional roller coaster. So I started off doing that as my thing as coaching.
That's really interesting. We all need friends like that, don't we? Somebody who can observe where we've gotten to and just give us feedback. That's really powerful. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
so, oh, and basically in terms of, so you did divorce coaching for a while, and are you still doing divorce coaching, or have you moved to a,
Not so much. As I developed, as I grew and changed, I found needs for me to change what I was doing, who I was coaching. You always need to be recognizing that you're changing and how the changes affect you and those around you and where to take it. So after a few years of coaching that, I realized I was the happiest ever was because I was liking myself and loving myself. I even started to date. And when I would go on those dates, it would be with this mindset of I wanted to learn what their values were. So to see if we are compatible value-wise, because I had learned through coach training that my values, which I never really understood until coach training, and my ex-wife's were totally different. Right. And that probably was a contributor to the failure of the marriage. We had 25 years. We ended up making to our past our 25th till it was finalized, the divorce. We had 25 years and we have 4 children and 8 grandchildren together. So, but I look back and say, other than those children and grandchildren, the best gift she ever gave me was asking for divorce. Because we would have stayed in this codependent relationship because I was never going to stop it. You know? I was just on the phone with her about a half an hour ago about one of our kids. Thank goodness we have a decent relationship these days. So as I developed, I was like, okay, I am something else. I wanted to help people move forward. And one day I was doing one of these things that I never did before, and I'm ADHD. I was meditating. Can you imagine what an ADHD guy like is meditating? I'm like, when is this going to be over? Here I am, all those things, but like, when is it going to be over? And then I had this download. And when I finished meditating, I wrote for 2.5 hours. And out of that came a word, life, that I turned into an acronym, live incredibly full every day. And I started saying, I wanted to show people how to enjoy life so that they can live incredibly full every day, have a happy life and a meaningful life, because there's a big difference between the two.
Yes, there is, most definitely.
So that's what I started to coach around. And I was doing that for a few years, building my practice around that and solidifying some of the tools, the practical tools that I would do with my clients. And along the way, I would look for these coaching courses that I thought were going to give me everything I need so that I can make a great impact in the world, make some great money as well along the way. And I'd get into these coaching programs and I'd spend all this money only to find out that they said they were done with you or done for you, but really what they were done to you programs, because it was almost like a bait and switch.
I like that. I haven't heard anybody call it that before. The whole done to you course or coaching programs there. That I like that. That's really good.
Right. Thank you. So here I am now. I'm coaching and I'm putting my program together. I wrote a book about how to go from being somebody who worries all the time to somebody who's a warrior. So warrior to warrior. And that came out of COVID, that phrase. Because here we are, we're in COVID and we're 2-3 months in and they're saying, oh, you're just going to be under lockdown for 2-3 weeks. It went into months. And one day I turned to my wife. I got married, by the way, again, 2018, I got married again to a wonderful woman, and our values were aligned from the first date. Right. And then that was the thing. I would go on dates and see, okay, my values aren't aligned with this woman, and which was fine, which is what you need to do to find out on a first or second date. But so I'm very happy I got married, and thank goodness I did, because I don't think I would have gotten through COVID alone. So I turned to her one day, it's middle of May, and I said, let's go to Manhattan. Let's go to New York City. Think her kids, she has 3 kids. Let's go to New York City. And we go to New York City. And if anybody knows anything about the traffic in New York, it could take you forever to get anywhere. Well, that day I drove straight down Fifth Avenue and didn't miss a traffic light. And I looked around and I'm like, where is everybody? What is everybody so worried about? You could still wear the mask, even put on gloves, stand 6 feet apart, go to Central Park. There was so much that you can do. Where were they? And I realized that I had recognized that what they were worried about were things that I had worried about so long but I'd gotten to the point now that I don't worry about them anymore because it'll all figure itself out. And I got home that day and I went onto Facebook and a Facebook Messenger live stream. And I said, guys, I get it. I know what you're worried about. So let me show you how to go from being a worrier to a warrior. And I started to coach people around that and created the practical steps that I'd been working on. Put out a book and did some other things as well, my course and all that. And then I started to realize where I'm really great at. This is good, but what I'm really great at is helping people figure out, the coaches and consultants, figure out their message and get them to where they need to be so that they can do what I'm doing and loving doing and what they love. And take all what I'd learned, all the little things I'd learned from these other courses that worked and didn't work, and put it together in a course that works, but do it in a way that I'm coaching on results instead of just information. Because that's what everybody does. They coach on information. Go do this stuff and it'll work. But just because it worked for Joe doesn't mean it's going to work for Bill or it's going to for Patty. Everybody's different. And that's where I said, I'm going to put in what I call a risk reversal strategy. The risk is just as much on me, if not more. So I put together a program and I call it the 7-Figure Abundant Entrepreneur Program, guaranteed to get you to 7 figures within 2 years or less.
It's a pretty strong guarantee. So what is your guarantee?
So here's my guarantee. In the beginning, you got to learn on information. So there's a 12.5% investment into the program of the full investment. And then you don't pay me again until you start to get results. So the guarantee is I don't take another dollar until you are making money and making enough to cover it. And even then we go, okay, are you ready to pay? No. Okay. Why not? Let's figure out why not. Let's get you to the point where you feel comfortable with that. I've had one person say, oh my God, I'm moving so fast. I want to give you more money. Great. But are you ready for it? Well, I'm telling them, I want to make sure you're making the money so that you feel good about paying me instead of saying, oh my God, how am I going to pay him?
That's interesting because guarantees are a really important part of building the confidence in people's minds that they are going to be able to use what you have to offer to achieve their goals, their dreams. And so what kind of a thinking process did you go through to come up with such a strong risk reversal type of a guarantee?
Yeah. So I said, let me take these courses that I've taken, see what is working and what's not working, and why they're working and why aren't they working, right? And then I said, I'm going to build a better mousetrap, as it were. Okay. I'm going to figure out the things that didn't work and understand the mechanics of it. And really the main thing that didn't work was they expected you to understand things that you knew nothing about and expected you to go figure it out on your own. Oh, just to do Facebook ads and cross-testing and double testing. And I'm like, I don't understand what any of that means. And so when I put this program together, I realized there's 3 things that have to be in place. One, you have to have the right system. Okay. And that's the blueprint that we create with you as to what your business is going to be like. What's the system to get you where you're going to go? And that can get you the first level, like to the 6-figure number. The next one is you have to have the right mindset. So I bring in my warrior to warrior coaching to get them in the right place. Because as much as they believe in my product and as much as they believe in me, if they don't believe in themselves, the rest doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they're not going to do it. And I say, here's another guarantee. There's going to be chaos, and that's okay. But the other guarantee I give is if you don't give up on yourself, I won't give up on you. I'm going to keep on coming back. And even when you start to give up, get ready for me to be up in your face in a good way, in a loving way. And then the third thing is you've got to be scalable. And that's talking about understanding what's your zone of genius and what should you be spending your time on that you are going to be happy and profitable in there. And the things that you don't want to do, or even better, don't know how to do, like creating a CRM, a funnel, the landing pages, all that stuff, you farm out. And I learned this from a great man named Robert Kiyosaki, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, but I think every people have heard of him. Yep.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And what he said, I heard him say this to me directly. It was in a group of people, but he said it to me. to us, I want to be the dumbest person in my own business. And he said, I want to surround myself with the people who know to do what I don't know how to do. So I turned it to, the people that know how work with the people that know why. That doesn't minimize the how's jobs, because each one of them have their own whys as to why they're doing what they're doing. But they're good at writing software. They're good at knowing how to do marketing or sales or the CRM or whatever. So you surround yourself. There's a great book. I just lent it to my wife. It's called Who Not How. Figure out who you could do the things that you think you should be doing how yourself.
Who wrote that book?
His name is Dan Sullivan.
Oh, that's right. Yep, Dan Sullivan. I'm going to put links in the show notes to some of these books. So I got a few questions, and I want to follow on with the thought that you had. Can you share maybe just a story or two of some of the people that you've helped coach through to, as you said, the 7-figure sort of success level that your guarantee?
I'm going to be totally honest. Nobody's there yet, but a couple of them are very close to being there. Okay, so I'm going to look up something that somebody wrote for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Their words speak louder than mine, right?
Yes, absolutely. Testimonials are like the thing.
Exactly. So Andrea is an interesting story, because when I was talking to Andrea, okay, the first time I met her, she sent me an email reply to an email I sent out. She said, I almost deleted this and I decided, let me call the guy. And now this is what she said. I've spent thousands of dollars on coaching, but no one could take my unique program and make it work until I had a conversation with Martin. His program has helped me move past the roadblocks, and now I see the possibilities clearly. I've been thoroughly impressed by the systems and feedback I've received, and it has made a huge difference in how I approach my business.
That's a nice testimonial. Very nice.
Isn't it? And the first call we had with her, she said, are you going to change my program? And I said to her, I don't know. Why are you asking that question? She says, because every time I speak to one of you guys, that's what you want to do. You want to change my program. I said, well, I have to learn what your program is. And what ended up happening is I didn't need to change her program. I just need to show her how she can take her program and fit it into my risk reversal model. And what she wants to do is she helps trauma-informed coaches. Basically, people go through domestic violence. And what she wants to do is have 50 women in 50 states in the U.S. coaching her program to help domestic violence victims get through their lives.
Wow, that's
such a beautiful mission.
Yeah. But also very hard to make a business out of.
Well, that's the thing. Most of these women, they go, I want to be impactful, but I'm afraid I'm not going to make enough money. So in her statement, in her impact statement, which is like an elevator speech, is something we go through very early in our program with them so that they can go out there and just present themselves. She says, I want to help trauma-informed coaches make an impact and be profitable. In her case, she wants to help them get to 6 figures, which is like $250,000. Great. So we put a program together for her to be able to create programs that way.
Oh, that's impressive. You said you had a couple of people that were getting close. Can you share another case study with us, another story? It doesn't have to be somebody who's nearly up to just somebody who's been able to significantly change the way they think about what they're doing because of the coaching that you've given.
Yes. Give me a moment. Let me find Jason. He wrote a long one, but we cut it down a little bit. But those who know me well know that I'm always looking to connect individuals with those of trusted character who have the right value at the right time. Those who know me also know that I seldom do program promotions. Oh, he was promoting my program. Here's one again. This is a one rare case. I'm excited to have the privilege to help promote not merely a powerful program of value, not merely an event whose proceeds from his program introduction go to a wonderful charity, but I get to promote a program and professional mentor who I've come to trust and believe in, my friend Martin Salama. The outline and details of his charity workshop are below. So when I do a workshop, okay, what I do is I charge $27 for a 4-hour deep dive workshop, and all of the money goes to a charity, right? And it's called Gift of Life. He goes, Martin and his team have actively developed, unlike others who provide advice, Martin and his team actively develop your unique program alongside you. The program not only works standalone, but also provides an exceptional additional offering that isn't meant to replace what you already may have. It develops a genuinely synergetic offering to your business and fuels revenues and actual profit.
Okay, it sounds like it was very successful. I'm interested in what you just talked about, the workshops.
Yeah.
So what was the thinking behind setting up workshops where you charge? To be honest, there's not $27 isn't a whole lot, but in it for a 4-hour workshop and then give the proceeds away to charity. What made you decide to do that?
Well, I realized so many of the people out there, these guys are doing 45-minute webinars and they're charging $99. And at the end of it, or even they're doing it for free, they've given you next to nothing in the webinar other than to tease you to click on a chat on a link to buy the whole program, set up, blah, 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 all that stuff. I'm like, that's not the way it should be done. So I said, I'm going to pull away the curtain and show everybody from the beginning to the end what it's going to be like. And then at the end of it, say, I'm doing this for charity because if you sign up for free, most people aren't going to come. Right? They say, oh, great webinar, I'm going to go for free. Most people don't show up. So if you charge, now you pay, they're going to pay attention. So I said, if you do it where the money is going to go to a donation to a good charity, now you even feel good about making that payment, not knowing that it's not going to line my pockets and that I'm not in it for the money. Even if I get 1,000 people at $27, okay, very nice, but that's not what it's about. I'd rather that $27,000. And I picked Gift of Life. This is an organization that helps people with leukemia or blood diseases find a match for either bone marrow or stem cells. And I picked them because I was fortunate enough in 2018 to donate my stem cells and save somebody's life. And I realized all the costs that went into doing that, which was nothing for me and nothing for the recipient, that the Gift of Life took on. So I said, okay, let me pay back to them in that way too.
That's a really interesting story. And one more curiosity-based question, and then we'll start to wrap up.
Absolutely.
But this whole stem cell donation thing, how did you find out about that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So in 2006, there was a little girl in my community who had leukemia. And they spread the word. Okay, everybody come out this day and swab your cheek. We need to find a match for this girl. Over 1,000 people came out and swabbed their cheek. I found out later, do you know what it costs for each one of those swabbing kits?
No.
Between $60 and $100. Right? Gift of Life pays for that. And they go out and they fundraise and all that. Anyway, so 1,000 people came out and nobody matched her. And about a year later, she passed away. Fast forward to 2018. I'm about a month away from getting married. I get a call. Hi, this is the Gift of Life. Do you remember in 2006, you swabbed your cheek? I'm like, yeah. Well, you're a match for somebody in the country who's got leukemia and needs your stem cells. Would you be willing to donate your stem cells? I'm like, well, I'm about to get married. It depends on the timing, but yeah. Well, no, it's going to be a few months and so on and so forth. About 4 months later, I went to the hospital. For the week before, they came every day, sent the doctor to my house to give me a shot to increase my stem cell production for a week. Then that day, I drove to the hospital and sat in the blood donation room for maybe 5 or 6 hours. They took the blood out of one arm, took out the stem cells, and put the blood back into my body. And they come at the end, they go, okay, here's the bag of stem cells. I go, okay, we're going to fly it cross country. Wow. Okay. And 2 years later, I get a letter in the mail. Hi, my name is so-and-so. You saved my life. And he's telling me his history before, during, after, and I waited until I was better to write you. And he says, by the way, I just wanted to let you know, we were a 10 out of 10 match. And I'm Scandinavian. And I'm like, well, I'm North African, Middle Eastern. This was God's hand coming in to say that I need to save this person's life.
That is really interesting. An interesting way to get to the point where you're actually able to help somebody. So, yeah. So shout out to Gift of Life, I think, in terms of a really impressive service that they provide.
100%. So when I'm teaching people, I go, we're going to help you build a done for you workshop, and you decide what organization means something to you. You could imagine Andre is going to do something around trauma informed, the domestic violence and stuff like that. Each person will have their own pet charity that they want to do. But we're going to do for them, we're going to help them build their own workshop. We're going to give them the CRM, all that back end stuff. And as they're building their business, we're going to help them find the right support to do that third thing, scalability. So yeah, it's all there.
Yeah. Wow. That's impressive. One more super quick question, and then I'll get you to share some contact links. But you mentioned that you'd written a book. Do you want to just talk very briefly about your book?
Sure. So I called it Warrior to Warrior. Okay. And what I did is, and some people have read this book and, oh my God, Martin, you're very raw in that book. You're very vulnerable. I'm like, well, yeah, I have to be, because if I don't share what I've gone through, how could that other person know that I can help them?
Yeah.
And the way I wrote this book and my course is on this mission of not only giving you the information of what it is, but giving you the practical tools to put it into practice to make the difference. So many times you read these books and they're like, okay, but now what? I didn't want to now what? I'm like, here what? This is what you do now.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. So I'll put the link to that in the show notes. Martin, it's been really great talking to you, listening to your story. And
Thank you.
We're all on journeys, and you have a fascinating one. So if people were interested in either finding out more about you or in reaching out to you for some help, where would they go?
So I've made it very easy. I created a page called connectwithmartin.com. That's simple. You put in that, you can find out about my next workshop. I do them about once a month. You can buy my book. I actually also created a card deck from my book as handy, like tangible things you can use at any moment. There's free gifts down there. There's a lot. You could even click on a button to make a free conversation with me if you want.
Okay, well, that sounds good. And we'll put that into the show notes as well. So that was with Martin.com.
That's simple.
Excellent. Great. Martin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to my conversation with Martin Salama. His practical wisdom on staying positive and leading a fulfilling life, no matter the challenges, is something that we can all use. If you'd like to learn more about Martin's work or reach out, go to connectwithmartin.com, where you'll find resources like his book, courses, and free gifts to get started on your own journey. And if you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe and leave a review. Your feedback helps more people find the podcast and ensures I'm providing the kind of value that keeps you coming back. So thanks again for listening, and until next time, stay positive and keep moving forward.